We talked a couple of weeks ago about the youth team and their success and how impressed you were with their performance in winning in the last round. They've done it again this week, and I know you've been on record how impressed you've been. How much does that show that there's something really healthy building here with under 18s being successful, under 23s players coming into your first team, from kind of 15, 16-year-olds through to your first team? How encouraging is that?
Well, that's a path that we've got to try and create. We've just had problems trying to nail down a training ground. As I said before, no one's fault, but we've been let down by contractors and getting the pitch sorted. But that was the vision 2 or 3 years ago when we created the 23s. To have everyone on the same site and a pathway, and players can see the pathway. And as it stands now, we've got a youth team and we've got the 23s training with the first team. So the chance to make that leap into first team football, it's getting closer and closer by the week for these players. And I think it's healthy. I think it gives them hope and gives them a sense of purpose that they can go on and make the next step into men's football, which will be good for them. But I still love them nights, under the lights at Accrington on an unbelievable pitch. 700 there, would you think 700 for the youth team? I remember getting 250 for the first team game at Accrington, so that shows how far we've come. And the youth team finding a different way to win. They were outstanding against Wigan, different type of game the night, and they had to dig way through, going behind, which they haven't been used to. But they showed a lot of character, and all credit to the staff, and for guiding them through it, and all credit to the players. And I said to them before the game, they worked ever so hard against Wigan to have nights like this, and you want more of them. I don't know whether the first time that you had candy floss, but you want more of it, don't you? And you've had it. And it's a thrill for them, and it's a part of the development. But they have to remember that the development isn't just about them special nights. There's going to be tough times, and it's learning to deal with adversity as well.
How important is it that whether you're a 16-year-old first-year scholar or a 21-year-old that you've signed for the under-23s, that you feel comfortable around the first-team environment, and it's not... You hear stories of the old days, don't you, where the first-team dressing room would be somewhere youngsters would be terrified of being around.
I don't think that environment would ever exist. It hasn't in the past, and it never would be while myself and Jimmy and John are there. That's for sure. I remember being a youngster going on trial and feeling uncomfortable in the first team dressing room. And that was one of the things that I would definitely never happen when I let happen. I'd never let anyone feel that way when I had a chance to do something about it. So that'll never be the case with us. And the first team players are on first name terms with the youth team as well. Now they know a lot of them because we're on the same site now. And eventually when we go down to King George's, that'll be it complete. So we'll have the whole operation working from there, and that'll be good. And we'll be able to intermingle the squads more and get them a feel for playing with the first team. And the good thing about the lads training with the first team, the youth team, is that the players quickly know. So the players spot the good players quicker than the coaches, I think. They know the ones that they want to give the ball to, they know that they want to avoid. So that could be helpful.
Is it inconceivable that you could have a 16, 17-year-old knocking on the door for the first team?
I think there's one or two already are. And that's not being glib or trying to be clever. There's lads who could do the job in the first team, and if we think that they're suitable on any given day, I wouldn't hesitate in putting them in.
I know in the past you've said that leap from 18s to first team is a massive chasm, but you have had players do it before. Is it sometimes just about the calibre of individual?
Well, it's down to getting your raw materials in, getting the right players in early on. And we had a spell where we drifted a little bit with the youth team, and that's no disrespect to the people who worked there, but we just couldn't get the players in at the start. Ashley's doing a good job with the recruitment. The staff are doing well. From Fitzy overseeing a lot of the progression from the 16s to the 19s to Milesy doing the 18s, to Scott and Duncan, you know, looking at the academy in a whole. And we're getting better ones through, and we were keen to point out that you just don't want to be a parking space for 16 to 18 year olds to get a YT, and then two to get a 23s contract for a year where it's just a paper or a box ticking exercise. We don't want that. We want genuine threats to the first team, genuine people who can get in. And in the past, I don't think we've had that. The gap was too big. Obviously, with the advent of the 23s, that helps. But having them saying all on one site will help even more.
First team wise, I know you had differing feelings about the performance compared to the result the last time you played. How keen have you been that this Sheffield Wednesday game comes round and you've got a chance to get out there and do something about the result part of that?
Well, we watched the game back with the players, and there was nothing in the game, no anything. We've gone in 1-0 down, being a better team. We've come out second half with a purpose. Got in 2-0 down, sorry. Got back into the game. Had a great chance to make it 2-2. A couple of great chances. Great block by their lad. And then, you know, the game's hinged on a really good goal by them. But our lads kept going right to the end. At 3-1 we forced them back. And when you watch the video again, you tend to see it dispassionately, and you don't get caught up in the emotion. And is the word dispassionate? Yeah, good. Yeah. And we've got to use them to inform what we're going to do going forward. You know, we can't dwell on the past, but we can learn from the past. You know, we've conceded 9 goals in 2 games, 2 Saturdays running, and only scored 2. And there hasn't been a 7-goal gap in our performances. So we've got to tweak the performances so that they match in terms of scoreline, because that's the important thing. You know, people can talk about stats till the cows come home, and you know, I think I got a bit of stick for saying we had more possession than Port Vale last week, but I've never been a subscriber to possession wins games. You know, you can have more shots than teams, but it's actual chance. If you create clear-cut chances more than the opposition, you generally win more games than you don't, so that's what we've got to get back to. We've got to stop giving them up the other end. And some of the chances that we give up are just rank bad defending by us. And it's either individuals or a lack of cohesion, and that's something that's got to change.
The big games, traditionally, the ones against teams at the top or with a bigger crowd, we've always talked about being the games that you've thrived in. Do you foresee that being the case in a very busy stadium with a very big away following against Sheffield Wednesday? And
you can't just label it, oh, we always do well against the big teams, because history tells you don't always do well against the big teams. You know, we got battered by Barnsley once. You know, all we want to do is we want to try and get our performances to reflect the scoreline, and by doing that, it's a lot of hard work. You've got to concentrate for 97, 98 minutes, or if you're a U team player, probably 90, 10, 100 minutes. So we've got to get back to doing what you have to do to get a result in the game. And there's no point playing well if you don't win. The more often you play well, the more chance you got of winning. But we can't be playing well and not winning, and that's something that's crept into our game at the moment. The club's been trying to encourage home supporters to get themselves down, try and outnumber the Sheffield Wednesday supporters who've sold a huge number of tickets. Is there a potential that it might feel like an away game if there isn't a bit of atmosphere from the home fans? Not a chance. You look at our fans behind the goal, Clayton and they'll out-sing any. They stay with us for the 90 minutes no matter how well or poorly we're playing. And no, there'll never be a danger of it ever feeling like an away game. And as far as Sheffield Wednesday are concerned, they're on an unbeaten run, but they're drawing a lot of games. I know you're a win one, lose more man rather than draw 3. What have you made of them? A good side. They've had a lot of injuries. They've had a lot of disruption. And I've watched them a couple of times. And when they're good, they're good. So we've got to try and make them not so good. And you know, we'll have a plan that hopefully we'll stick to, and we'll try and come up with a way to make them worry about us rather than the other way around.
Clean sheets are always at a premium, it goes without saying, but I think you've scored in all the home games and they're on a long run of scoring in away games. Does that make it more of a premium if you can keep that back door shut?
Well, we've said this all along, you know, if you look at Quest on a Saturday night, League One is littered with mistakes leading to goals. So if you can keep them at one end, there's a good chance that someone's going to give you a chance. That's how you win games.
And just lastly, personnel, how are you looking?
There's no new injuries, so from that score, yeah, we're all right.